It's live.
All right. Let me sit up a little bit. Let me sit back like a little brewery. But y'all need to go get you some contacts or something. Just messing with you. You know, PopKeys coming at you again tonight. Brother Captain, I said Farad Muhammad. But I'm pretty well known, even before I came into my righteous name. I was already town I grew up in, brothers, stuff like that. We pretty much legends, and still are, because we stood up for our people, freedom, justice, and equality. Even before I even had children, came on the planet. That's a whole nother story by itself. And I'm working on the book. I've been working on it for 2, 3 years. I write a little bit, stop it, and I put a little bit of the biography in it. But I don't like to just write straight through. I might jump over, do something else. So we'll see how that go. There's so much history, so much has been done and still to be done. But let me open up, Black family, in prayer. In the most holy name of Almighty God Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, the great Mahdi, who was to come and has come to restore we, who have been lost from our own kingdom of Islam, and destroy those that destroyed us. Thou art our God, O Allah, we are thy people, deliver from our murders, we serve and obey thee all the days of our lives, and we teach our children to submit to thee, to that unequal love and mercy for thou. And thanks to you, O Allah, for making manifest to us our enemy, the devil, and help us, O Allah, to live the life and die the death of a Muslim. I bear witness no God but thee. I bear witness the most honorable and humble Elijah Muhammad, and it's your last and greatest apostle. I pray, Allah, you move the heart of the devil from thee, as well as the black nation. My life, my death, my prayer, and my sacrifice is all for you, Allah. The Lord of all the worlds, no associate has he, this I am commanded. Thank you, Allah, for this day. Thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for the life-giving teacher, most honorable Muhammad Elijah Muhammad. I pray for the takeover now. We get the wisdom, knowledge, understanding, move the fear and the courage. To work together and come together in a unified manner. Those that's qualified and willing to get the job done. It's takeover time. So I'd like to thank you all for coming in tonight. And I have thoughts and ideas that some of y'all that's in this audience that's faithfully coming in, we need to tap in with one another and see how we can be a help to putting things on the ground. I don't like to just be talking. I never did a lot of talking even when I was growing up, unless it was relevant. That's the reason I'm on here. A lot of you got skill. We need to bring those skill sets together. Some of you grant writers and got other various skills. We need to tap in to one another, see how we can form a team so we can start putting things on the ground. And there's a lot of brothers and sisters that got ideas. Brother hit me up today. He had an idea on a clothing line. He needs finance, but we can solve a lot of our problems by working more closely together with one another and seeing how we can bring some of these skill sets together, because it always takes finances to get the job done. And we work out the details as you go along. See, we had a brilliant brother on Monday night. I got another brother I want to bring on, the doctor. He's a doctor. He got brilliant ideas of setting up a wellness clinic. He wants to do, and it's simple, the way he can just rent out Airbnbs and he can set up overnight stays. He wants to deal with the benefits of fasting and all these type of things. So it's things that we can do. But a lot of times we put blocks in the mind, talking about we can't do it. Yes, we can. So we had started businesses from scratch just with the thought. It just got in motion and everything just falling in place. So I know that's a lot of talented people because I read y'all chats once I come off. There's a lot of brilliant people that come on listen to PopKeys Podcast. So we need to connect up and see how we can put something together, some things together, and let's make it grow. You know, I got my daughter here tonight, Unisa, Kalimah Unisa. We just gonna chop it up a little bit tonight. I think the topic on the podcast, I think the importance of father, something to that effect. I don't know, but you know, it's always an issue with fathers, and I don't think people really understand really the true mindset of fathers. They try to put us in a certain box, the way we're supposed to behave and think. A lot of things fathers do that no one knows about. Or set up plans in motion that you don't even talk to no one about it, but you already set this in motion and then you execute it. Sometimes fathers not very well liked for the decisions that you had to make and your growth and your development. But we the fathers of the planet Earth. We the father of all children on the planet. The way I grew up, all children on the planet. We the father of them. And we, in a way, we responsible for on the thing that we need to develop in our community for ourselves. So that's the reason I come on here most of the time to give you the knowledge, the wherewithal, to give you a man to come before you is not fearful of his open enemy, not afraid to say what I need to say out my mouth. I know I'm in time and on time. So our young people can have a model that they can look at. It's not kissing the butt, not kowtowing, not bending over, not afraid of the algorithm and all these old type of things. What are the will of Allah gonna be? You understand? They say I'm controversial, but hell, we need 30 million black men like me tell the truth about it on the planet right now, the way the white man is moving on the planet in America, and with the audacity that they have to come before the people and play this game between the Republicans and the Democrats. No, it ain't even about the parties no more, people. It's about the people that live in America and as American citizens, according to their Constitution. You understand? You have the power to make the change. The hell with the Democratic Party. It's about the people now. And the way they move in the country, I stay on top of pretty much all of it. Is that they trying to move this country into a straight, fascist, racist, supremacist country. They moving up under the context of the way Hitler moved. And if you study the history properly, you might have a better understanding on what Hitler was really trying to do. And not everything they put in the book. They try to paint him a certain way. You understand? When they had the military and all the top generals, and you had these two fools talking to the military generals and admirals, and they was talking about the woke with all these black admirals and generals and top military officials sitting in there and pretty much telling them that they don't need the black man in the military or the woman when we make 35 to 40% of the military, talking about declaring war on American citizens in America and being authorized to use full force. But what you got to understand is that the military, these men have put their life on the line and fought for this country for the freedom and the right. So it's a question going to come up pretty soon. Will they follow unlawful and unlawful order to use force on the American people? So all these things are coming into play, even with the government shut down, even with your Supreme Court. All these things have a direct effect on us whether you know it or not, and their foreign policies and the war that's coming up in the Middle East and in Europe will have a direct effect when they tell you they don't want black people in the military, but they're gonna be calling your babies and your sons and your daughters into a military draft for long, because they're gonna be dying by the thousands. So it's a lot getting ready to come, but we had to come together and do the things that we know we need to do with ourselves and start building out. We have the talent to do what we need to do. We just have to start working closely with one another. Reading in the chat what the sister said, Miss Queen says she wrote a grant for, I think it was about $3 million for a school district, and they gave her 500. Come on, Sister Queen. You know what we can do with 3 million? And then when you doing business, you have to set your terms. You can't go on the belief these people gonna treat you right, because it's all about business. Business is business. You had to have contractual agreements when you take care of business. I don't care if your friend, your mother, your brother, your sister. You put in a contract, like the real told me, you put in a dial, and it can't be changed in the blockchain and all these type of things. So we got to start working with ourselves. Y'all put all this trust in our enemy. You understand? And we helping ourselves. Don't you know what we can do when we come together and start pulling out resources and putting things on the ground that our people can see? And we got standards and protocol when they come to us that they got to go by. That's how you affect change. You understand? But I'm tired of all this crying about white folks. They through. They at the they in their last battle stance. They getting ready to lose out big time. It's on us now. We got the talent. All we got to do is have the will to get the job done. So this is what I want to put out here before we got into it with my daughter and all these type of things, and this take over time. That's the key, black folk. It's on us. It ain't on the vote, it's on us. You understand? All you have to do is develop the will, get with the people that's truly out here, that's really sincere and committed to this situation. Those are the ones you need to be working with. All them other folks, the lying promise and got that automatic smile showing all them damn teeth and stuff like that. The hell with them. Understand? Take over time. So I'm gonna turn it over to my daughter right quick. Let me give me a little shot of this gold water get started, because I think it's gonna be a good one tonight.
All right. So I told my father that I wanted to go live tonight with him because, for one, I have this. I kind of got woken up um, out of my sleep last night, and I kept having multiple dreams, and I had this kind of deep anger towards my brothers, and I didn't know what the dream meant. But then I woke up, thinking about this subject between me and my father. For one, just my observation of men and how they talk and how they think about the world. I see how men have this way of looking at this bigger worldview picture. And as a woman, we tend to deal with more of the emotional body, the mind body, and how things affects us and how it helps to create our reality. And so there's a part of myself in my own journey as a woman that I've seen how my relationship to my father has affected me in my journey in this life. And I'm coming into this deeper understanding of myself. So I wanted to go on because I don't see a lot of fathers and daughters having a build between each other. I don't see most people talking about what that relationship is supposed to look like, how a father shows up for a daughter and vice versa, and the effects of a father on a daughter. And of course, we can talk about sons too. I'm not leaving out men. I'm just, when I speak about things, I'm always referring to the relationship that I have with myself. So everything that I bring up has an intimate level because it's how I've been able to navigate life, my own journey, There's been times where sometimes my father was in different states when I was growing up in high school and college, and we didn't have such a strong relationship. We actually have, to me, in my opinion, um, a stronger relationship now in my adulthood than I actually felt like I knew my father when I was a child. And so there was a part of me that felt like I didn't really know who he was. I observed him from the lens of this very masculine, strong Black man, militant, captain, always like on general mode. But that relationship of father and daughter, that intimate space that I've observed with, just seeing what other women have been able to have with their fathers, even my own daughters with their father, I know that there was a part of me that always sat in that space and knew that I didn't have that, or at least I didn't feel connected to that. And I also felt how that affected my relationships, especially in my marriage, how that absence, that bond that most people have affected me in knowing even what to receive in relationships with men. I always kind of feel like, and this is just really personal because I'm all about a certain level of intimacy and depth and getting to the root of the mind and how things affect people, because I don't see how anyone can make change in their reality if they're inflicted with pain of the mind and dealings of the mind. And the relationships always go back to parent child. It goes back to mother, father, child, that relationship, that connection, that literally, in my reality, is the relationship that has the foundation to all the relationships that you really deal with in your life. And if you study psychology and you study these things, you will see that connection. You'll hear people talking about father wounds and mother wounds, and there's a lot of us who get stuck in these spaces because we end up blaming our fathers and blaming our mothers instead of looking at their lives and what they've had to deal with in their lives, and knowing how to look at the gift that they gave us. Knowing how to look at, even though your parents may have not gave you everything that you think that you need, are you able to look at the blessings that they gave you as well, the intentional mindset they birthed into you as well? So on my personal journey, I've been able to see both sides of that reality, seeing like navigating through my own fathers and my own mother, like looking at their childhood and seeing how they created their reality, and then looking at my own and seeing how like I still was able to even evolve through that, even though I might felt like I was neglected in areas where, most people might get attention. So I'm going to be interviewing my father tonight because I really want to ask him questions. We might be a speaking, podcast family, but me and my dad are very both quiet people. It seems that way by nature. We're like introverted, but when we go in front of other people, we know how to be extroverted. So there's a part of my family dynamics, even outside of just me and my father, where we always feel like we want to have this level of communication. We want to talk about things. We want to get to these things, but there's something there. And this is just something, that with me personally, mom actually said to me one day, she was like, why y'all never say stuff to your father like y'all say to me? And I thought about that question. Because she was like, y'all always just telling me what it is, but y'all never say nothing to your father. And when I thought about that, I thought about the nature of who you were to me. And I thought about the nature of mom. And I was like, well, I'm thinking in my head, that's because you always said what you want to say to me. You ain't got no filter. And then I thought about you, and I thought about our dynamic. And it's always been a more quiet level of communication where we talk in this, we'll come to each other, we'll communicate, but we have this rapport where you're very calm in nature to me and I'm very calm in nature to you. So I never, just communicate like I would do with mom, because mom don't have no filter. She gonna say what she want to say. She ain't got no emotion. Mom gonna bring it out. So I thought about that, and so that's why I'm here today, because sometimes it is a strange feeling when it comes to wanting to communicate with you because of how I was raised and you being in another state, and how I didn't have that like go to your father type of connection where I just felt comfortable speaking with you. In my mind, you were like a bigger figure in my head, because you were captain, because you were general, because you were like, your exterior to me was this very masculine presence. So I never felt that connection to that, like, that I guess I'm looking for like a softer connection. I think I remember one time you did my hair on the couch, and I always remember that. You like braided my hair one day. And I remember the color of the couch. I remember certain moments about you. Like, I always remember you always said prayer for the family. I remember those details. But looking back at, like, can I just call my father up and talk to him about a boyfriend, or talk to him about school, or any of those moments? It just that wasn't our connection then. So there was a part of my life where it was like you know, it was more of a void there. And then we got to know each other more just in the past few years, where I felt like it allowed me to see that you are actually, in my mind, just like me in so many ways of my personality, where I'm like, man, it's interesting how I wasn't around here for years, but we think a lot alike, and we kind of are a lot alike in demeanor. And people would always say, that's your father's daughter. Like, you just like your father. And I'm like, that's correct, because I didn't need to be around you to even exude parts of your character. So, but my first question to you, and shout out to Danielle, our cousin Peas from St. Louis. um, she's on here, and she always shouts out, everything. And I just want to give her a shout out. But so when you first found out you were going to be a father, what did you imagine fatherhood to be like? So let me.
Well, you talking about with your mom?
No, it doesn't. No.
Well,
Go always.
my oldest son, Marcus Bay. Um, his mother and I, I had met Debbie when I was young. We had our relationship, that young love. But then, we kind of moved on from one another. And one night we had a party for a friend of mine, Brother Dewey. He got married and stuff. And we had cooked food for him and everything. And Debbie then came by that night, and we got together. We had what we did and stuff. 5, 6 months later, here come my sister-in-law, Shirley. She was telling me, you got a baby on the way. I said, what you talking about? She said, Debbie pregnant. But Debbie was with another brother, Ricky Howe, older brother, though. So, I just kept, believe her, like, you still had that love for me, she couldn't let that go. And
Let it go.
yeah, and but we cool to this day. And so when she had my son, Marcus, and then when I saw him, I knew automatically that was my son. So there was no deniability and all that when I saw him and stuff like that. And
Hold on, Dad. They're saying they can't hear us. I don't know, something wrong with
there you go.
it.
And so I was glad I had a son. It looked just like me and stuff. And as he grew up, he had a lot of my ways, and same way with Suwaida. Her mother She was in the entertainment business. She sung with the High Cats. She was older than I was, But I guess I had that charm at that time. I ain't brag this fact. So we got together and she had a child, Suwaida, and but I was young at that time. I still wasn't really. We had moved in together. It was in California though, and but I still wasn't ready to be not a father, but to be tied down all the way like that. It wasn't just really because I'm used to moving around, traveling. I come out from back east where we was moving 100, dealing with the government of America, with the police, and fight for justice, and all these type of things. All the brothers I grew up with, we all thought alike. We worked closely together and still had a lot of full respect. But eventually me and Jesse separated, but my commitment was with my baby was I had to stay long enough to create that bond with my baby. And I even had her when I moved back east. I had her sent back to me. She stayed maybe for a little while and created that bond. And it's time moving on, but I never denied any of my children that I met by ear. Actually, I was doing a 1 to 3 in Menard Penitentiary in Southern Illinois for 2 counts of aggravated battery on the police. It's in my book. And she came through to visit her cousin and Richard. We helped him because we were sitting in the county jail and we helped him file motions and stuff like that. So he wouldn't get a lot of time because we jumped right dead in the law books. And but she came to the visiting room one day to visit Richard, her cousin. And she came with her other cousin, Margie. And I'm in charge of the visiting room. I'm selling food and sandwiches and drinks and stuff like that, handling cash money. Only brother in the prison handling cash money legally. Of course, I was getting my share. I tell it like it is. You know what I mean? It was easy for me to knock off paper, and I just put it in the envelope, put a stamp on it, because when they walked me back out, the institution go back up on the hill. That's where they had the death row. And I just dropped it in the post office box. They can't go in it. But I met her. We talked for a minute, and I made a choice that I wanted to continue to communicate with her. She gave me her information, and I wrote a letter. Her mother intercepted, but we eventually got together because I got sent to the halfway house in East St. Louis. That's right across the river, and we got to kicking it, so to speak. When we first got together, we didn't have no sex or nothing like that, but I liked her energy. I liked her spirituality. She was militant. She had understanding on the things I was talking about with going on in the world and stuff like that. And she liked to dance and stuff too. She was just like that creative dancing. She just put the right music on. She just gone. She wasn't doing all that twerking like y'all be doing. And eventually, well, I really wasn't thinking about marriage at that time, but I had love for about a year. We got married and all those type of things. Went down to the courthouse downtown and had little Mika. She was just a baby, though, little girl. She was our witness and got married and tried to give it a go with that. But I had to make a change myself personally. I had to move back from the way I was getting money, and I had to move out of state to St. Louis because everything, when you fight for freedom, all those doors are closed to you. Somebody getting a job, you ain't getting no job. Just like you knew, no, all those avenues are closed to you. Everything closed down. So then I want to be in the drug game because I'm standing up for black people. So You can't straddle the fence because that's how you get killed. So I tried to go the good old boys way and get a 9 to 5 and working and stuff like that, and so you had to make a lot of changes because you used to go on, you ain't answering nobody and right worried about when you're coming in and all this type of things. You know how you can move in the street and find out where to hustle with some money and something like that. So that was a difficult change for me in a lot of ways, but I already knew how to work. We always had working skills and stuff like that, and Vaisha was our first child. I named her after her name is Andrea Vaisha Muhammad, but I named her first name after my older sister, Andrea. She had died when they had me locked up, and I'll never forget in the upper left. And she would have epilepsy. She was epileptic, but she had a heavy seizure sometimes. But she in Racine, Wisconsin, and she was in the hospital. And I don't know what actually happened per se, but she ended up drowning in the bathtub in the hospital. They say, but I knew she had died because she had came to me that night in my dreams, and she would call me Junior. She said, "Junior, am I all right?" She touched me. She liked touching you stuff. She had on a white robe with a red rose. She liked her rose and a red lipstick. She said, "Junior, I'm all right." So next day they called me down. I already know what they wanted. That my sister had passed in the hospital. And so I didn't really grieve over, but I couldn't go to a service because weren't gonna let me go. So they had a vendetta on that level. And so that's the reason I named Andrea after my older sister. And so we had Andrea. So that was a change. Then we eventually had my other son, Asia one. He come along. He's a strong brother. What? The Asian one is a hell of a man. He's been going through some changes, but he's getting better by the grace of Allah. He's the one that taught his brothers on how to be men and how to approach women and how to be strong. Because if you have sons, you always teach that one son how to lead the other son. You end up with which one was that? That's Jabril? No, Kalimah. One of y'all, I can't keep up with all that shit.
Don't call me Jabril.
That was Jabril, right? Yeah, we had Jabril come along, and we thought about his name. We always would go to the Quran to think about the holy name that we would want to give our children.
Okay, first off, I was born after age 1, just so we clear.
Huh?
So just so we clear, I was born after age 1.
You what? See, I can't keep up with you did. You asked me their birthday. I don't know per se. Mama can tell you all that. So that was Kalimah, then Jabril. Okay, I got it right now. I think. And but he was a hell of a young man, very strong, vibrant, highly talented. Then we had Kalimah, but we had named Kalimah name come out the Quran. Unisa, Kalimah Unisa. I mean, all women, all of them had holy names. You understand? And you had Jabril, because I would always, all my children, except for Kalimah, I think, I was at the hospital for all of them when they all came out right there. And we had Jabril, so we sat down and thought about his name because we wanted him to bring the knowledge like Jabril was in the Bible. You understand? He came to the Holy One and gave the knowledge to the people in the Quran and those type of things. That's why he's like he is today. Then we had which one was that? Yusuf. We had Yusuf. Yusuf had his own personality. Uh, Yusuf was a little different because he has a very, very, very strong will. very strong-willed young man, a hell of a writer, a hell of a thinker. He's in Hawaii at this point in time. Checked on him the other day. You understand? And I remember the time Kalimah got him whooped by me too. I understand. And he's a youngster, but usually the type when you get in front of him, he be jawing and rubbing his jaw like, man, oh, if I look bigger, I'll mess you up, Pop. But Kalimah did something that happened. I asked all of them, y'all the one that did this, and I got to use it, but he was so defiant and stuff like that. I gave him a spanking. I found out 20 years later, though. You know, Kalimah was the culprit, but I never whooped my girls, though. You know, that's what I didn't do. Whoop my girls. You understand? Kalimah was that type, you know, you want to whoop her anyway, because she was the highly intelligent one, a good girl, and you know what I mean? And then we had, I think it was Bashir. We had him at home. We was in Oakland at that time. We had planned this birth with Sister Rashida. She got a street named after her in downtown Oakland. Highly militant sisters, midwife, very versed in herbs and stuff like that. And she was pretty much world famous because she was in prison in Georgia in this state, but she ended up killing the police, the sheriff, because they came into her cell. I guess he was trying to rape her or something, but he had a gun on him, which is a no-no. And she got the gun and shot him, but they couldn't convict her because he was wrong. You can never do that. Come inside a jail cell with a gun on. I had that happen to me in Illinois. That's part of another story, though. Then you had Samad. Well, we had Jabril at home. Sister Rashida, when Bahia would take certain herbs and stuff like that, and we had planned that birth out to a T. I pulled him right on out that womb of life. You understand?
Samad, you had Bashir and Samad at home.
Huh?
So you had Bashir and Samad at home.
Yeah, I ain't got to Samad. And Bashir pulled him on out, laid him back on the mama's stomach, so we pushed down that placenta and wait till the umbilical cord drained, cut it, tied it off. And then I took Bashir and turned to the east and gifted him right back to Allah. That's why he got all that spiritual stuff going on there. You know what I mean? And all that white cream. Yeah, she didn't have no stitches or nothing like that. She didn't have no blood all over the baby, just that white cream that they have on in the placenta. We didn't wipe none of that off. And after a while, it just goes right back into the baby's skin and stuff like that. You know, they just disappear on its own. So they never were touched by the white man, and all our doctors that we had for our children was black. All of them. That's why I learned how to bring forth a child, because I had watched so many coming out. I said, oh, anybody said, here, we can do this ourselves. Then we had Samad at home. Then we come on down to the twins. I didn't know nothing about the two, Rockman and Raheem, until finding out she had twins. You know, in the beginning, you know, when I first met Bahia, they said she couldn't have children. You understand? The doctor was telling her some old type of stuff, but he proved that wrong.
Definitely.
That's for damn sure. So that's the beginning of the Muhammad tribe. And, you know, and I would say that, you know, brothers, when you want to have a family, you have to make sure you got to vet the woman, her morals and values and principles, because that's going to be the teacher of your child. You understand? And then when she got turned on to the teaching of the most honorable Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad, I went to that meeting with Minister Farrakhan when he was first coming back, building the nation at Umsel University. Then we went to the Keo Auditorium when he came back. That was it. She been on the square ever since. You understand? And put those morals and values. That was my plan. You know, for Bahia, because I know how I can trust her being a mother. You understand? Suwaida had a good mother, Jessie. Debbie was a good mother. We all have good relationships now. Miss Jessie, she's Wade's mother, she done passed. But Debbie, I'm always welcoming to her home and stuff like that, you know. And by it was just over the house yesterday because my grandbaby, I'm sitting back looking at all my grandbabies. You understand that we done helped bring to the world yesterday. You know, you think about these things, you know, Kimmett and Doy, and you got Yusuf children in St. Louis, you got Bashir, Ra, and all these grandbabies that come from that one connection. And now talking about Saweda's her two sons, and then the grandchildren on that side, and all these type of things, man. So it's all good. It's, you know, from that one relationship or those relationships, how you can develop seeds and bring them on the planet when they're all upright. You understand what I'm saying? That's a blessing. I can't ask for no more. I ain't got no savages running around in the family. So all praise due to Allah.
Okay, so I had this dream last night, right? And my thought that came to me was, you know, because you got all these sons, and everybody, you know, y'all hype y'all sons up, right? Everybody want they sons. And so in my spirit, I just kind of felt like, you know, and I think that's why I felt like this disappointment. And this is, you know, my brothers are not here to talk in person, you know, so I'm not going to say too much, but I felt this disappointment towards my brothers because it felt like watching from a daughter's perspective and being in a family of 7 boys, just, you know, in between the family of my mom and my father, because, you know, we got Saweda and Marcus. So it is, how many of us? 11 of us. I've always, like me and Andrea always felt like the brothers get the hype. Like, you know, people want to see the sons come into manhood and become this power and this thing. And so I felt this almost disappointment over my brothers because as a girl, it felt like I was in the shadows of my brothers. But I always felt like I was smarter than my brothers, even at times stronger than my brothers. And like I always thought from this mindset of like, I'm actually teaching them in a lot of ways, but they get credit for being boys. And so even, you know, even with my brothers, they're always, you know, this, they always want to be around each other, but they have this connection where the girls are here, we want to help build, but then because, you know, the boys in the background somewhere living their own life and then hasn't created this bond that we want to see in our family with our brothers. It's like it always felt like, and it goes to this question that I have of, you know, what role do you see a father playing in his daughter's confidence? Because I always felt like people looked at me like I already had it. And in a lot of ways, I do. But there was also that perspective of everybody told me, everybody looked at me from the lens of she has it already. She's already smart. She's a good girl. And just tell her to stay away from things, but they're not teaching me what to walk into, what to receive from another person. So there's a part of myself where I always felt like I literally been navigating the world on my own. Like I'll pick up, you know, I pick up the teachings on my own. I'll do certain things, but there's a certain guidance where I felt like I didn't have because it was like, you know, she the smart girl. She gonna be all right. And yeah, the boys, they going through stuff, they messing up. And so, you know, we put our energy and our attention to that. But as and then I'm also the third daughter, and then 7, how many boys come after me? All like the bulk of my brothers come after me. So I felt like the second mama in the family. Like I'm the one who got to be the mama of and take care of everybody else. And so I carried this in a responsibility within myself of always giving, always showing up for people, but seeming to receive a certain neglect. And that was just my perception of, I'm surrounded by brothers. I'm one of two daughters in the family. And even there was a difference in how I felt with Andrea because she was the oldest daughter and she knew how to assert herself. I'm telling you, and this is just us me being truthful. Like when Andrea was younger, I remember she got a sweet 16. I remember you would give her money. And I just remember as I was growing up, I'm like, where my $100 at? Where my sweet 16? And Drew always reminded me of Asaya because Asaya know how to, dad, I want what I want. But I never felt that confidence in me to know how to just talk to my father or, because it was at a time where mom took me with her to live in St. Louis and you were in California. And those were pivotal years of my life where I'm growing up in middle school. Actually, it was elementary school, middle school, high school, where you would be back and forth. But for me in my, teenage years and me growing up into a woman type years, your presence wasn't there. So that was a part of me. And then going into college and, so it just felt like I didn't have that confidence I'm talking about this deeper knowing of my value, not on the surface level, not on I'm always know I'm a god, I'm always know I'm a queen, but a certain rooted thing where I didn't just allow anything into my life because I really knew who I was. And I really believe that comes from the power of a father speaking that energy over his daughter and affirming that in her. And so I wanted to ask you, like, just even in hindsight, because I study everything. So even when you out of sight, I still study. You see what I'm saying? Even your militant ways, I studied within myself. And I really will walk the streets like you. Like I know how to, I walk around and I'm always looking around. I'm always in this very militant way about myself. So I know that I received many things from you as for you even being my father and passing down those genes and me seeing who you are. But if you were to give other brothers a perspective, if you were to look at it, just looking at me and looking at your daughters, what role does a father play in shaping a daughter's confidence and building that and knowing who she is? So she doesn't just receive anything from a man. Like there's certain things about me that I just came into just recently, just literally a few weeks ago. And I would always ask myself, why don't men show up at this certain type of way for me? And I know I'm a good woman. I'm a kind woman. I actually really deeply love and respect people. And then there was something in me that clicked, and it was like, you just need to truly, love and honor yourself as you see yourself and maintain that boundary. But I know, just the shaping of a father and what a man can instill, that power that a man has to instill inside of his children. So if you want to.
Okay, let me see what I could do with this. But Kalimah was so kind of like so self-independent because, like you said, she was always doing well in school. Uh, she was protected by her brothers. She was put in martial arts, know how to protect herself. But I think, gosh, her mother would always kind of remind me though to pay more attention to Kalimah about certain needs and stuff like that. But when you have a lot of children, a lot of times, like I said, I was back and forth. I was in California. I'm with the Muslims. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And then you have sons, you tend to be more on the lookout for them, I do believe, because they the ones that getting into most stuff, to be honest about it. And Kalimah always had this aura of being that strong young lady. And she's pretty connected to her mother as well. So I would just, if you just have a daughter and a son, then you can pay a little bit more attention to your daughters and stuff. And then with my situation as well, I had my ups and I had my downs in this life, man. I've always been 100. We've had our trials and tribulations in life. You had to go through, come through. And being in Islam, a lot of times it took me away from my family as well because that was part of my mission. And I'm being a father, not only to my children, to other children. I used to get on me a lot of times about that. You're on the front lines, you're training, you're teaching, you have to be an example for all those that's under your command, the men and women. And sometimes, your family can get mixed up in the shuffle, to be honest about it. There's a lot of trials and tribulations that you had to go through. And then in your mind, your daughters ain't one of the ones you got to worry about. You tend to forget about giving that praise, not thinking they need that. Because you got these damn boys out here that's always got something going on. You trying to save them or give them a little more praise or raise them up to a certain degree and stuff like that. And sometimes you can overlook your daughters in a certain way because they good, so you think, but you don't realize they got the mental and spiritual aspects in them that need to be covered too. You understand? And sometimes that can happen. That more likely happen with me. And just like now, we live together and stuff, and certain things I automatically know about Kalimah. Certain things I do, certain things I already know what's coming and stuff like that. You understand? She said, damn, I think the same thing because I already know what you think. You dig what I'm saying? And but Cleveland always been that type of young lady that you didn't really have to worry about her too much. Even in relationships, because she knew what she wanted. I had to go after it at the DePaul University, and I think that was probably one of the most difficult times, though, being out there like that in the world. And had to go at it pretty much on her own. Mother was there. I'm at the bakery, soldiering and doing all type of stuff of good now. And then you put in the mindset, it's just hard to explain, to be honest about it, because you have to be a certain way. You're dealing with jealous and envy. You can't get caught slipping. You can't get none of that. I know, just tell this part, even when I eventually, once we set up a temple, open up our own business at the bakery fair, and then once I pulled back from all of that, you know, then you want to be able to be more tender and be more kind. Not say you want kind, you know what I mean, but you want to have all these type of things. You want to be able to express that more. You know what I mean? But maybe you don't. You did. But it's like coming down. Even when you in a relationship, you have a wife, you still had to be a certain way. And Cleveland and them came to my house and friends and all this type of stuff. But I'm still on post, so now I understand a little bit more. We had to pay attention more to our daughters. You had to study your children, study their gifts, and study their emotional needs. And I think communication is the best thing going, though. I think you should sit down and have more of that quality time with your daughters and stuff. One thing about Vaisha, she was the first. So we got a chance to spend more time with her. But we just go walking. We just walk for miles. She never got tired. That girl could walk. We walked 3, 4, 5 miles. And she never got tired. She just keep up with it like it wasn't nothing. And she was able to get a little bit more attention. And then Kalimah came in. She was like the little golden child, like, because she just take care of business. She had that look like she all right. And so you know what I mean? But not thinking that she still needed to be covered a certain way. You know what I mean? So on hindsight, remember you say certain things sometimes, you do this, that, and another. But I hear you, but I'm still on another end taking care of business because a lot of times I'm in California. Sometimes I always come back, check in on my family and, make sure my children could connect. And then till it got to where I got to go again because my head got tripping with me, you understand? And we had that type of relationship, but I'm always welcome to the house and stuff like that. So, in hindsight, PopKeys probably could have did a little better. You know what I mean? And but 2025, we're here now. You know what I mean? And the relationship is pretty good. We got pretty good understanding. Sometimes, you have to speak on and stuff. So I send it back over to you.
So, because I don't want to go too long, but I do want to say that what I felt was that separation between us. I can see at 36 how God was building me through all of those moments. I think you even said you wasn't even at the hospital when I was born. I ain't gonna leave that one out, but because even like this is real. Like for me, everything for me is a deeply spiritual connection, and God put something really deeply spiritual in me. So, like I remember everything. I remember details. Things hit me in a way to where I can connect to them. So you weren't there for my high school graduation, right? And you didn't get to make my college graduation, and you didn't get to make my wedding. He was locked up. But those memories were core memories in my reality as a child. As an adult, literally through certain steps of my life, it was this thought of what is this? It's almost like I'm looking at it like a problem that needs to be solved. Why do I have this equation? Why am I facing this perspective of my father not showing up for me in these pivotal moments of my life? And they hit my memory because I'm a child looking at this, thinking, oh, he showed up to his sons and I see everybody else. Somehow, even though you was locked up, it's still how it plays out to me was like, but you're not there. And so a part of me on a deeper level kept connecting to people in this way of, why can't they reciprocate this energy back to me? Why am I always feeling like I'm looking for this connection, like this deeper connection to my father, where I feel somewhere neglect in myself? And that's where I got hit spiritually just a few weeks ago. I don't know if everybody else tapped in, but it was like a blood moon. And that's when you end up with the ticket going to jail. And I just got hit with this strong anxiety and this energy over me of like, what are you trying to tell me, Allah? Like literally, I'm talking to Allah because I'm just feeling stuff. And I went through something personally where something happened where it was like someone tried to test me in my value. And it clicked to me in that moment that I've been dealing with certain energies my whole life. And I was like, what are you trying to tell me in this moment? Because it was like something wants to be released off of you and you finally need to understand what it is. And God just started talking to me, and I was talking to Andrea, and she was like, and it came down to, Kalimah, you know who you are. You've always been this person. Like you said, I've always been this smart person, this loving person who just kind of knows what to do. And so part of me says, okay, then you need to value exactly who you are and stand on business in who you are and don't accept anything less than who you believe that you are. And my spirit spoke to me so loud in that, because it was like a part of my boundaries was so affirmed to me of, you don't have to go searching for anything because you are the embodiment of the love that you're seeking. So don't accept anything less than, because some part of me is looking for some acceptance, something that I probably was inner seeking from you as a child that I didn't receive. And God kept telling me, but you're not going to get it. I'm not going to give you what you think you want from your father. I want you to give that to yourself, because you have that ability and that power to give it to yourself and accept who you are in your own being and stop seeking for it outside of yourself. And that was the revelation for me. And it hit so hard because it kind of cleared. It almost felt like it cleared 36 years of an insecurity that I had within myself that I needed to connect to. Like, you need to just look at the connection to your father as truly the blessing. And most people don't know how to look that far. It was actually something teaching me the whole time. It was like God was like, I already know you one of my strongest soldiers. I don't need you to be pitied. I don't need you to, think you need something in order to make you whole. You need to understand that's who you are, and that's who you've always been. I named you Kalimah Muhammad. Stand in your name, And so that's why, I just been getting this core energy, and I've been wanting to talk in front of people, because there's something in men and women where we're all dealing with these, what we like to put on our parents as wounds, instead of looking at what is the teaching in this? How is this trying to teach me to evolve? Instead of blaming someone else outside of myself for how I'm allowing them to react to me. And I know that that's something that many people do. We will blame our childhood. And yes, many of us have went through very intense childhoods where, but you also got to ask yourself, then what is the mission even in this? What is the blessing in it even in this? Why did God allow me to even go through this? What do I need to learn, and how do I need to evolve through this? So I don't just sit in self-pity. So I don't just sit in pain. Right. And just hold on to it as though I can excel in life, because now I have these blockages from my parents, or I'm blaming them for what they didn't give me. But it's like, that's the ingredient that God gave you when you were born. So deal with it. So he like, you can make something out of this, but you got to believe in yourself. You cannot just place your blame onto another person, because then you will be stuck there experiencing the same occurrences with people and patterns for the rest of your life if you don't figure out how to break the pattern. And everybody talks about generational curses, and I'm like, it's a pattern that needs to be broken within yourself.
That's the talk of the day, generational curses.
Right.
Never heard of that before.
And it's a it's a trending thing, and we like to look at the past as though that's the problem, and we need to be the better generation. But there's also a way to look at that as honoring your parents in that space, what God gave them to give to you, to even give you this light within yourself, and just seeing it as a pathway to your growth and your evolution. Because I don't look at because I went through a lot of mental thoughts and things when it came to both of you. I looked at your childhood. I looked at how you were raised under your mom, and your aspects with your father. I looked at mom and her not having her father around, and grandma and her energy. And I'm looking at these things, and I'm like, I can see even how you guys attracted each other. I can see what came through us, you know? So I can't even look at y'all and be sad for what I didn't get, because I know that y'all upbringing, y'all have to go through what y'all have to go through as well. And it's like, and then I also see the love. And I'm like, first off, y'all gave us Islam. That was the best gift we could have ever asked for, could have ever had. It was the knowledge of ourself. I'm like, I couldn't have, when you really truly look at it, when you have such a solid foundation like that, I'm like, y'all gave me the gift of who I am, my name. And so when you switch that energy around and you start looking at things as a blessing instead of a lesson, then you turn it into gratitude, and you shift and you connect to the fullness of who you are. So that's kind of the end of the questions for tonight, because I don't want to go too far. I've had a long day. So, but if you want to go ahead and close out the show.
Yeah, because this generation like to talk about generational curses, all this old type of thing, or talk about being better, and all this type of foolishness. To me, it's foolishness. I don't know whether you're gonna be better if we get some freedom, justice, and equality on the takeover. I pretty much got a lot of my morals and values and understanding of life from my grandfather, my grandmother. My mother was a good mother. I learned a lot from her as well. I never carried any trauma as related to my mother and my father. My father left at an early age. Matter of fact, I got spanked. I didn't see him no more for a while. I remember he stayed in Chicago at the hotel, and they sent me down in the morning to go get breakfast and stuff like that. Dude be dope fiends, find out he be sticking up a little brother. Robbed me. Father went down there and checked him. But I never carried any trauma because God blessed me to have understanding about everything. You know, and I never knew anything about the word poverty growing up because we always had a roof over our head. We always had something to eat. I always had clothes on my back. I always had somebody that was there. My grandmother died. She caught cancer and hurt my grandfather. Uh, we had one house over from my grandfather once my grandmother passed. I'm taking care of my brothers and sisters. I'm in elementary school, and my oldest sister, Andrea's. We knew how to take care of her when she had seizures and stuff like that. I knew how to cook and all those type of things. Learned from my grandmother, just watching it, getting in the kitchen and stuff. And grandfather had to work. He come back, make sure we were good when he got off work and stuff. But I never carried a lot of trauma like that. I seen some of my brothers, they think they carry some trauma when little brothers, you know, looking out the window, looking for their mother and stuff like that. But she was young and beautiful and had to go through life herself. Father, same way, handsome young man, dapper, clean. I had an older brother I looked up to, my big brother Maurice, called him Mo. He had a lot of respect and in the community, in the streets, as well as being a state champion and very highly respected young man and militant. And so, this is life. I never even had the idea of thinking that I was better than my father because I was doing something that he might not have the opportunity to do. But I never looked at life in those terms of being better than my father. Without him, I wouldn't be. But I never looked at life the way young people look at things today. Talking about generational curse. The only curse we got is the white man. That's the damn curse. If they'd let us alone and wouldn't put that little devil inside of us and put us in a situation where we had to make decisions, if we'd have came up in a righteous manner that we never would have made, our parents never would have made. But I learned how to be strong. I learned how to be a good human being. I'd rather be good than nice. Nice people finish last. And I always knew something wasn't right as a child. And I prayed to God to be here to see the fall of the Caucasian. Always been militant, always strived for freedom, justice, and equality. We didn't take no stuff off the police or the white man. Locked me up 2 counts of aggravated battery when my daughter was having her wedding. We got hit again because we had set up our own temple and set up businesses and things of that nature to where we were moving real strong in the security field, had our own school, own housing, all these things, and had hundreds of people employed, changing their minds and stuff. And we was unapologetic, unafraid. When you had black men and women working together in conjunction and showing a strong resemblance of what black people should be doing in America, then you become public enemy number one. You had to do everything right in the sack. You can't make no mistakes whatsoever because you open the door and they send informers in and all these old type of things to grab the information and all this type of stuff. But they don't want to see the strong image of black men and women at all. That's showing brothers and sisters how to come up out the gutter of ignorance, how to pull their pants up, sister how to cover up, you understand, and take those gifts that's been hidden in them and bring it out of them and do some things that's going to uplift our community. They don't want that. But the brothers can put their pistols down. The brothers can come out of jail, got a place to go. To get back on their feet, they ain't got to go back to criminal life. Bring a sister off the block that was out there doing what she had no business and make her civilized. She grow to be beautiful looking, get her thoughts back, her mind and the spirit back. They don't want that. You understand what I'm saying? So That's what I couldn't make to my daughter's wedding. They had me locked down like a shot of secure, straight up, man, and roll up with tanks and all these old type of things, throwing smoke grenades and people home. They didn't know why I stayed though. You understand? And so this is what made me being a man, standing up for my rights, putting your life on the line for people you don't even know. But somebody had to be that example. That's the key. We don't have enough examples of strong black people. Where they had to move, the where they had to behave, and that wears off after a while. They start taking on them values and those principles. They don't want us to clean up our people, black people. We acting like savages and popping our butts and bending over and talking crazy. It ain't making no sense. Getting a young brother off the block, going into the community where the brothers on the block, talking to them, setting at that example, let them know, bro, that's a clean glass over here, a clean glass over here, sister. You understand? Setting up your own educational system where you can teach our children. Our children is taught in the educational system that we set up. Muhammad's Academy now is in St. Louis. Shout out to him. You understand? Elijah Educational Systems Center and all these type of things that black people set up. We ain't getting no public funding or none of these things. So yeah, in a lot of cases, I had to be away from my family. Serving Allah though. That was my mission. That was my purpose. And didn't nobody really understand that but me. You understand? I had to look at the big picture. But that was my purpose. That's what I had gifts and skills when I came into Islam previously. I'm on the front line fighting. So all those carried over. I got more discipline, more skill, more wise on how to move amongst the devil, and we start taking care of business and take care of us. I could have been a better father, could have been a better husband, but I was young, so we had to grow. Fathers looked at, we supposed to be perfect in every aspect. Well, we human beings, we had to learn and grow through time. We gonna make mistakes and stuff like that, but one thing I can say is my family always know what Pop was at. That's for damn sure. I had my dark days when I was out here on another level. I fought my way back from that darkness because I had Allah. That was my light in the darkness, the way I gravitated right on back and got back on the square. And I think me and Kalimah have a pretty good relationship now. I pray for my sons to get on their squares more stronger, strive to be more upright. You understand? And you tend to talk about your sons a little bit more, but in my mind, my daughter don't need that. It's what the sons need. You did? Because they already got it. I ain't even got to worry about them. They on their job. But it be them damn boys that be slipping. So you had to put more out there to try to get their little butt right. But my daughter's on their job. Aisha on their job. She got the beautiful children. You got my aunt that's in college right now. You got Kimmy, got Kadar. She got a good husband. You got Kalimah. She got Ayla, Saya. They growing to be little goddesses. They speak their mind. They're smart. They're intelligent. You understand? I see them get a little more closer now to Pop, though. Pop, Grandpa now, because they come home now and check in on me. What's up, Grandpa? You dig? So I be eating up all that energy. I love all of that, I got grandson, Kali. I check in on him, talk to him, pull him to the side, try to show him this is the way to move. Out here, brother, you young. I got my other sons, Rockman and Raheem. They on the straight path. They just need to be more active and doing more for themselves and things of that nature. So they got a good grandmother. She's always active with all of them. She keep with all the kids. Birthdays and all type of stuff. I can't keep up with all that. So I don't expect grandpa to be able to keep up with all that type of activity. You dig what I'm saying? I got my grandbaby Elia had a birthday yesterday. I've been on barbecued on the grill, made that nice vegetarian spaghetti for him. They made cupcakes and stuff. And I'm sitting there looking at her, and I'm gonna wrap this up. Well, I remember when we would keep her when she was a little baby, hold her in the arms. She had that psoriasis, whatever it was, and she just scratching. We put her in the bed with her us at night and stuff. I used to feel bad for my grandbaby. She'd be itching. We patted oatmeal and stuff, put it in the bath and them cream and stuff on and stuff like that. You understand? But I told her yesterday, I looked at her, I said, you growing up to be very pretty now. You understand? She said, huh? I said, yeah, you go. Very pretty young lady. I said, now I'm going to have to keep out of young brothers. You dig what I'm saying? So it's a blessing, you know what I'm saying, to have your family, whatever thoughts they may have on Pop, whether it's good or bad to me, it don't matter because they don't know what I know. You understand? But they all up under divine protection because the sins of the father ain't came back on my children. It's the good I done put down with God that keeps and compass. I got so many stories that I don't forget on. Other people remind me of things of good that I've done in life. Because you do so much things, just go out. Shit, people remind you. But, I'm a blessed man, brothers and sisters. But we need to find a way we can work a little bit more closely with one another and bring our skills and talent to the table and see what we can put our resources together, talent, and let's build something. Let's make a showing. Because I'm an executor of the teacher, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I'm a man that like results. A lot of you sitting in this chat, very, very talented people. We need to bring this talent together and let's put something together on the ground, black people. So I thank you all for tuning in tonight.
Let me do a wrap up real quick, Dad.
Huh?
Let me say something real
All
quick.
right.
A sister asked the question. She said, "Do you think Pops is speaking from the heart, or is he speaking from this, like your masculine perspective?" Or she said something along those lines.
Well, let me ask this, sis. Please.
Well, she's asking me,
Oh, okay.
and I wanted to answer that question because I think it's something that women should understand about men. Because oftentimes women are looking for men to speak from this soft perspective to them. But one thing I've learned from men is that men will show you exactly who they are. And what women need to understand is sometimes we think so emotionally that we want a man to talk to us in the way that we feel about something instead of listening to who a man is. And as I'm listening to my father, I can sense he's speaking through his heart because I can, connect to the emotions. I can connect to him going into the timeline of us and just speaking from his perspective as a man and his experience. I can't expect my father to look at me and speak from this super emotional in his feelings because my father is exactly who he is. And I've learned that over time from studying men, listening to men. Right. A man is who he is. You cannot change a person. They're going to be who they are. And that's something that this is a little off the point, but when a woman is looking at a man for a perspective as a husband or a relationship, stop looking at it for some potential version of him and just connect to who you see right in front of you, how he speaks to you. Because so many times we think about changing a person, and I want him to speak to me in this softer tone. And then, but it's like now you get to question, who are you as a woman? If you don't like his tone, if you don't like how he speaks to you, then maybe that person is not for you.
Right.
But one thing you have to understand is that you cannot change that person. And many of us have to, understand that part of men where we can't get men to just be softies with us and just to be, super emotional and to connect in our feelings and our heart space. Sometimes people show up in their heart space differently. This is my father's heart space. If you listen and you connect to the words that's coming out of him, this is his journey. This is how he sees it from his point of view. And so his heart space is not going to look just like mine's and me and my feelings and me going into my childhood, looking at it from a child perspective. And that's just kind of how I connect to things now. Because there was an old self that wanted to connect to men of, why can't you talk to me in this comfort me kind of way? Make me feel, But it also tells me, well, then if you know you want to deal with a man on a certain level, then know what to look for in a man. Don't just try to change a man and say, you don't do this or you don't treat me this type of way. You know what I'm saying? Because I've honestly recognized that my father has a huge heart and is very similar to mine's, but he's a very strong masculine man, and he has a strong masculine tone. And so when you listen deeper into people, you can hear their heart speaking instead of just how you feel when you receive them. Because most people get messed up by the tone of a person. They'll be like, why your tone? Why you so this? Why you so passionate? Why your voice so loud? And I want you to speak a certain type of way. Because, I'm going to keep it real. Mom would always speak on your tone. But then me being your daughter, I'm like, dad is just passionate. That's how he speaks. And you can't change that part of him because that's who he is. And so I recognize to follow that and to really pay attention to, there was a part of me who just, I want a man to talk to me a little more softer or to be a little more, really we're asking more sometimes feminine in nature. And sometimes men are just who they are. And so I've learned to just accept people for who they are. And you maneuver accordingly, according to what you need. But saying all of that, y'all go ahead and hit my father's Cash App. Because I'm always going to rap for y'all to hit this Cash App because we've been up here for an hour and almost 30 minutes having a very beautiful conversation. And we don't get paid for this unless y'all send us a blessing, because this is how we like to reciprocate back into the community, showing love, showing up, and having these type of conversations. Because my dad talks about things from political awareness to what's going on in the streets, to what's going on in the news, to what's going on with Black men, Black women. He goes into so many aspects, and you're not going to get this kind of knowledge and wisdom nowhere on the planet. That's just a fact, because it's coming out of me and it's coming out of my father. And I know that what we're able to exchange, you don't see this nowhere else. You don't see this level of intelligence. You don't see this level of spirit and God and aura, because I know that truthfully, I don't exist nowhere else. So y'all go ahead and hit the Cash Apps. Y'all hit the Zelle. Y'all just show the love. Because when you show that love and you reciprocate that energy, you get that gold water. It's buy one, get one free on Monatomic Gold. We like to give the blessing back. My brother's on tour today in New York. He's giving back right now. I decided to go live on my dad because I just wanted to bless the energy with a different dynamic this time, because I know that some of these conversations are not being had. And I also want to go deeper into these conversations, because I feel like it can unlock something in us, something that we think that we need to heal. And it might just connect to something that has been sitting on our minds our whole lives. And then we finally hear one person bring up something and it connects the dot. And I really hope that this conversation connected a dot for somebody so that they can break certain patterns within themselves where they feel like they're stuck somewhere. Because I truly just want to see us build that full confidence, that God within ourselves to our just strongest level so we could just execute. So we're not sitting here in a pain mind where we can't pick up and do what we need to do because we're so emotional and we're so stuck somewhere and we're blaming everything outside of ourselves instead of cultivating the God mind and the God body of who we are and flourishing. Because that's my intention, truly. That's the journey that I'm on. You get out of these spaces by putting in work in all of these areas. It's never going to stop. And the more you put in the work, the less defeated you'll feel and the less stuck you'll feel in this reality. Because this reality will try to make you feel like you're less than, you're nothing, and you're going to be fighting for the rest of your life. It's time for us to get into that thriving state of mind, getting to higher levels of cognitive abilities, getting to stronger families, stronger relationships, man and woman, and tighten up. Because you got to tighten up for the next generation. Because if we don't tighten up, you might as well leave it to your enemy and just let them have you. Because they're going to take it. All right. So, y'all, I want to see some cash apps now. But, y'all, Dad, you can go ahead and close out the show.
Yeah. I want to say this, though, before we close. Men and women have two different natures. Black woman. Women feel. That's what they tell you. I feel like this. I feel like this. Man is mind. I think. You very seldom hear me say, I feel. No, I think the way it should be, or the way this, or that. I know sometimes in a relationship, when situations come up, a woman is getting mad at you because you ain't got excited like her. How come you all cool and calm, this, that, and another, and she all excited and stuff like that because she in her feelings, and she gonna get mad at you because you not reacting like she is. Well, I'm a man. We have two different natures, black woman. And the sooner you come to understand that, the better relationship you be able to have with a man, maybe we can start closing the marriage gap again. You understand what I'm saying? Because the black men and women don't even get married anymore like they used to in the past. Everybody going certain ways because you can't really change a man. I'm going to be honest, but I never used to like telling a woman that I loved them. Because it didn't sound right, covered out by bow when I said it. And you know why? And I'm going to close out. Because look at the way I'm standing in front of you and the things I'm doing with you. That's a demonstration of my love. I could tell you what you want to hear. You understand? But the sacrifices that I'm making, I'm with you. I'm home. I'm taking care of business. I ain't doing the things I used to do or could do. That's a demonstration of love coming from a man. You know, because it just sounded so corny to me. I love you. You know, that's just me. You understand? But I'm doing the things to show you that I love you. Well, some women just want to hear it, and you can just be lying to them because you know, that's what she want to hear. But it's a demonstration. Love is a demonstration. Like they say, it's an action word. You know, and I'm not here to prove anything to anybody. You understand? Sister's the one that made the comment and all that old type of stuff. I don't have to prove anything to you about what's coming from me. And I'm expressing what I know to be true. And some of the things that challenges and stuff that you go through in life and you had to face and stuff. I don't have to get on here and play. What you get from PopKeys is all real. So, as I say Muhammad, I say Muhammad got the devil on the run. That's right. Run, devil, run. Take over town. Boom. Then chopped another head off. Another head in the bucket. You understand? Remember this, black woman, man is mine. Ain't nothing wrong with being masculine. That's the damn problem. Now, you know, a lot of women like hanging with gay men. Y'all tight like this. Not to disparage gay men, but y'all get along with gay men and have a hard time getting along with a guy. Allah Akbar. You dig? That's a lovely label. Good night, family. Stay strong, stay sharp. It's takeover time. And we damn sure gonna take it over one way or the other, with you or without you. Allah Akbar.
All right. Peace out. Get that gold water. Buy one, get one free.
You get a deal tonight.
Shit. Good night, everyone.